everyone. I'm Andrea Miller, and I'm a registered dietitian and certified diabetes educator here at community hospitals and wellness centers. And I'd like to welcome our live audience and our viewers at home to Live It Red. And we're very, very lucky today. My sous chef today is Dr. Jody Tinkle, and she is a cardiologist here at the Bryan Hospital. She actually just opened a clinic, and was it in July? August that the clinic started. So a brand new clinic here at the Bryan Hospital. So we're so lucky to have her here at the hospital and here cooking with me today. So obviously, Live It Red for heart health. February is it American Heart Health Month? You probably know more about that than I do.
American Heart Association sponsored,
yeah. So
Heart Month.
And tomorrow, what is tomorrow? Tomorrow is a big day for women's heart health. Is that correct?
Yes, tomorrow's Go Red, Wear Red to support women's heart health. Tomorrow is the national day for that, so you'll see lots of red. Lots of pictures posted in social media. Feel free to post some of your own. There's a hashtag Go Red and some other places. So.
Great. So today, in honor of heart health, we are going to be preparing 3 really heart healthy recipes. We're going to make the ultimate heart healthy salmon cake. So I designed this recipe and I loaded it with as many heart healthy ingredients as I could. And then actually Dr. Tinkle told me that she actually loves beets, and I love beets too. So we're going to be doing 2 beet recipes. And I really wanted to show you all how to use the whole beet. Most people, when they eat beets, they think about just eating the root. And it's actually the entire beet can be eaten, and the greens are actually one of the most nutritious parts of the beet. They're loaded with vitamins and minerals, antioxidants. They're super low in calories, so I'm really excited to show you how to use them today. So the first thing that we're going to do is get started with our salmon patties, or cakes, salmon cakes, because they have to sit for a few minutes. We're using oats instead of breadcrumbs in them to up the health factor a little bit, so the oats need a little bit of time to absorb some of the extra fluid. So I'm going to start with a can of salmon. Now I chose to use canned salmon on purpose because we live in Northwest Ohio and we don't have a fishmonger. So I wish we did, but you know, we don't. And it's really hard to find good salmon in this area. So I actually did a lot of research on good salmon choices. Alaskan wild-caught salmon seems to be the most preferable. It's only fresh in season from July, or maybe June to August, I think, so in the summertime. So in the winter months, you'd have to get it frozen. Some farm-raised varieties are okay. This is actually Alaskan pink salmon, and it's in a can. You can find this almost all the time at any store, and it's cost-effective. It has bones and skin in it, so if you're a little squeamish about that, then I doubt Dr. Tinkle is squeamish about fish.
No.
So you probably...
No problem. I can still remember as a kid my mom making salmon patties or salmon cakes. That was
This is something that I grew up with as well. Just realized I need a bowl to drain my salmon juice in. So Dr. Tinkle, I wanted to ask you about fish in particular. I work with a lot of people in coaching them on eating better. Fish doesn't tend to be a favorite food of most people, but the American Heart Association recommends eating it 2 to 3 times a week. What if people don't like fish? Do you ever recommend like fish oil supplements, or?
It's certainly an option. You know, it's always best to get your nutrition in food. There are a lot of sort of carrier molecules with the nutritious elements in the food, and your body will absorb it better. So you're always better to stick with the food itself. If you just can't stand the taste of things, then certainly fish oil supplements are an option. You want to make sure that you get a good national brand that has quality in it. So you know, I think that's one of the few supplements that has been shown to be effective and shown to be heart protective. So, good question.
And you know, that's a great point with quality and everything of supplements. And I guess when I work with my patients, I always tell them, talk to your doctor about supplements before you start to make sure that it doesn't interact with any of your medications.
Unfortunately, fish oil is relatively safe you know, it's considered to be just a little bit of have a blood thinning effect. So most surgeons before procedures will ask you to stop it for a few days. But other than that, some people find they still, with the supplement, get a little sort of burpy fish taste with it, and there are, you know, different supplements that can help you with that. Flaxseed oil supplements are an alternative if you just can't do the fish oil.
So while we were talking about supplements, I kind of removed some of the bone and skin. You don't have to do that. You can actually crunch it up in there.
A little texture.
Yeah, calcium as well, and vitamin D. I'm a person that doesn't like to bite into bones, so I get a little funny about that. So I always take them out, but you really don't have to. You can also buy salmon with the skin and bone already removed. And I'm just kind of flaking it up in here, kind of mixing everything together. So I love canned salmon because, again, I can keep cans of salmon in my pantry forever, and I always have a healthy protein source available. So there's our salmon. I'm actually real quick going to show you how to do a flax egg. So you talked about flax as an alternative. So we're actually using salmon and flax in this recipe.
Ultimate, right?
Yes. So I'm using 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed. I'm going to give you this, and I'll let you help me out with the rest. Well, this is fork. Steal your fork. I gave you mine. So I have 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed, and I think I'll use 1. And I'm actually going to do a flax egg. So instead of using an actual egg, I'm going to make an egg substitute here. So I put 2 tablespoons of flax into a 1/4 cup of water and stirred it up. I'm going to let it set for just a few seconds. So it actually kind of thickens up and turns into almost an egg substitute. So we're going to use that in the salmon patties to kind of bind it together. If you don't have flax, or you're not quite crunchy enough to use a flax egg, go ahead and use a regular egg. That's fine. It'll work fine as well. You could also use chia seeds. So that's going to sit. I'm going to have Dr. Tinkle add the 2 tablespoons of dill. And can you find flaxseed? I've never bought it, I have to confess. Can you find it at your local grocery store? You can find it almost anywhere. It does have to be ground in order for it to turn into a flax egg. Most of the time you will find it in its whole form. So you'd either have to grind it yourself with like a coffee grinder. I use a magic bullet to grind mine up. You can buy it already ground as well. So if you can find it already ground, that's probably the best, most effective way to buy it. Flax is cheap as well. It's about like $3 for a big box of flax, and it's going to last a long time if you're just making flax eggs out of it. Now we're also going to add half a cup of Greek yogurt. So while we were talking, she also, go ahead and add all of that. She also added a 1/4 cup of oats in there. So we have the can of salmon, a 1/4 cup of oats, 2 teaspoons of dried dill, and a half a cup of Greek yogurt, plain Greek yogurt. You don't want to use like vanilla or strawberry in this recipe. It's not going to taste right. So we're just stirring that up, and while she's stirring that, I'm going to tap a little bit of an onion. So I have a massive onion here. We're only going to use about a 1/4 cup of the onion in the salmon patties. We're going to use the rest of it with our beet greens. So
That's delicious.
yeah. I mean, fish, it smells fishy. Someone walked in the room, they're like, it smells kind of fishy in here. But it's so good for your heart to, eat fish.
And the oily fishes seem to be the ones that are better for you because of the oil that's in them. So salmon and some of the more oily fishes that have the more fishy taste to them really are better for you.
Tuna has a decent amount of omega-3s.
And I usually, people tell me they don't like fish. we usually try to look at how they're preparing it, because there are so many different ways to prepare fish.
Absolutely.
Broiling or grilling, or obviously making combinations. So if people tell me I just don't like fish, we start to backtrack or send them to you and give them some delicious
Oh, I have
recipes
lots
to
of
try.
ideas up my sleeves. Just giving this a quick dice.
The other interesting thing, and maybe you can comment a little on your expertise, is foods that are cooked together. You know, the Mediterranean diet talks a little bit about like garlic and onions and tomatoes, and when you cook those foods together, it seems to be a more powerful nutrient than when they're separate. And so you know, getting the fat-soluble vitamins out of vegetables, not removing too much of the fat is really important.
Right. Well, yeah, and you mentioned like carrots and cooking those in a little bit of fat for the to absorb the vitamin A. Vitamin A is a fat-soluble vitamin.
And of course, extra virgin olive oil is
so tomatoes and olive oil would help with some of the absorption of the vitamins, the lycopene. So. All right, so that's a little bit of pepper. I'm not adding salt to this because canned salmon, its one downfall is it does have salt in it, and obviously we need to, kind of watch our sodium intake to keep our hearts healthy as well. So, so that's all the ingredients for the salmon patties. We're going to let it set for just a couple seconds. I'm going to set it over here and turn on my griddle a little bit. So I am using a griddle to cook the salmon patties rather than frying it in a ton of olive oil. I am still going to use olive oil on my griddle, but I'm not going to like saturate it in the olive oil. Okay, so now we're going to get started on our beet green, saute. And we're using onions and garlic in the beet green saute as well to add flavor and nutrients as well, because onions and garlic are really healthy for your heart too. Lots of different antioxidants there. Every single vegetable has different antioxidants in it, so that's why we need to eat a variety of different vegetables in different colors. So onions and garlic would be white vegetables, and beet greens would be the dark green leafy vegetables. So while have the onions in front of me, I'm going to continue chopping. I need about a cup of onion for the beet greens. And that looks like about a cup. When you're cooking like sautés and things like that, you don't really have to measure portion sizes all that much. I mean, if you get a cup and a half of onions or a cup and a quarter, I mean, it doesn't really matter, just about a cup.
Make sure my accountant husband is listening to that, and I'm just throwing stuff in. He's like, where's the recipe? I'm just making this up.
And then I guess I will measure the olive oil. We need about 2 tablespoons of olive oil here.
The hard part of that is you never quite make it the same every time. So you get that perfect recipe.
That's right.
And you're like, oh.
And actually, we forgot our
egg.
Egg.
Do we need to add that thick
Oh,
here?
okay.
Ooh, that's nice and thick.
Yeah, see how thick that got? I was letting it sit and I forgot about it. So it got really like thick and gelatinous.
Do you want me to do that?
Sure.
Get the egg scale.
Sure. Okay, and now my garlic. So we need about 2 tablespoons of garlic for the beet greens. So I'll go ahead and chop that up. Get some of this out of the way.
One of the other alternatives that I often, you mentioned salt and how ways we can reduce our salt intake. If you look at like natural herbs, they're one of the most concentrated forms of antioxidants.
Yes.
So if you look at their content compared to other foods in very small amounts, you get lots of antioxidants. So I often will ask people just to put the salt shaker away and get out some basil or get out some rosemary. Any herb that you enjoy, any mixture that you like, it's going to be so much better for you than the salt.
And we put dill in the salmon patties, but you could use really any herb or spice that you have. So if you had some extra parsley or rosemary or whatever you had lying around, you could throw it in there and it, you know, basil, I mean anything really. So I'm giving my garlic a little chop here. Actually, the more you chop garlic, the more heart health benefits it has. It helps to release some of the nutrients, and when they're exposed to oxygen, it helps to develop them. I think the phytonutrient in garlic is called allicin. I'm going back in my memory though, so.
We'll take your word for it.
Okay. You know, foods are so complex. Every food has so many different nutrients in it, and so many phytonutrients. You know, again, sometimes it is hard to keep track. But again, variety, I can't stress variety enough. Okay, so we have our onion and our garlic. And I guess I'm not going to turn the heat on quite yet because I want to make sure we don't burn anything while we're chopping our greens. So we'll set this aside again now that everything is added. I'm going to, you can grab 3 of the beets.
Okay.
And 3 looks good.
All right.
We need about 6 cups of beet greens.
Okay.
So I'll take 1.
Great. How much of the stem do you include?
So, and actually none of it. So we're going to cut off the beet root. So we'll set that aside for later. And then actually I use a paring knife for this part. So I just, like right at the leaf, I just chop off the stem.
Okay.
And some of these little tiny stems are probably fine to put in there, but the big bulk of this stem tends to get a little bit tough. So, okay, so I have a little bit there. I can steal a couple more from you.
I had never actually cooked with beet greens, so I was pretty excited to see something new.
Yeah. The first time I tried beet greens, I just used a couple of them raw in a salad, and I did not like them. It was one of the worst things I've ever tasted. And I did not eat beet greens for a long time after that. But then I found this recipe, and I actually fell in love with them. We're going to add some sun-dried tomatoes and capers to it, and it just kind of complements the beet greens and brings out the yummy flavors in them. And plus, cooking them really helps. And actually, cooking some vegetables is beneficial. Because beet greens have some acids in them that really need to be cooked in order to help our body absorb the other nutrients, so the acids don't bind to the nutrients. So I turned on our heat. I'm going to let the onions and the garlic kind of cook for a few minutes. And while we're doing that, we're going to slice up the beet greens even further. So I usually just bunch them together, like kind of grab a handful, and then just slice them, like I guess kind of 1/2-inch slices. You want them pretty small, so they all cook down. You need, like I said, about 6 cups here. Again, more or less is fine. If you don't quite have enough beet greens for this recipe, you can always throw in some different greens. Like spinach would work really well in this recipe. So, you could do spinach and beet greens together to make up for some of the beet greens that you don't have.
You get that extra variety, right?
Yeah, exactly. So beet greens, I included a lot of nutrition facts on your recipe. You can see just how loaded they are in everything. Vitamin K, they have huge amounts of vitamin K, vitamin A, vitamin C, manganese, magnesium, potassium. Potassium is a huge one for heart health with blood pressure regulation. We should really all be eating more potassium. Sometimes I've said this a couple times, but sometimes we just focus on reducing sodium, but also increasing potassium in our diets is super important. And beet greens have tons of potassium. So we're cooking that a little bit. Does it smell good? Can you smell the garlic? You don't want to burn the garlic, but Okay. Just until the onions kind of start to become a little bit translucent and you can smell the garlic a little bit, that's when you want to throw in your beet greens. We'll toss that in there. And I'm going to let you stir.
Okay.
And hopefully it doesn't get too hot. Awesome. And while she's doing that, I am going to get the salmon patties cooking. So I'm going to take just a little bit of olive oil and drizzle it over my griddle. And my trick is to use a paper towel. And I just kind of spread the olive oil around. So it's kind of all coated. If you have a spritzer or something like that, you could use that as well. And now I'm going to take my salmon, and I'm actually going to take a half-cup scoop. I'm just going to kind of drop them onto my griddle and flatten them out. So these are nice and solid. I was actually, the first time I made these with Greek yogurt, I was kind of worried that they were going to be a little watery. But again, when you let the oats sit, they absorb some of that extra liquid. So they actually get pretty firm. Those are looking really good. You see how pink they're turning?
That's very pretty.
That's the beet. Beets, they have a phytonutrient called betaline in them, or something like that. Anyways, and that's what gives them that bright pink or red hue. And it has a lot of anti-inflammatory and antioxidant benefits. So that actually looks really good. We're going to add some sun-dried tomatoes, so about 2 tablespoons. And I like to get the dried. You can buy them oil packed as well, but I like the dried because I think it makes them a little chewy. And I like the chew with the beet greens. Okay. And now we need a teaspoon of capers. This might be difficult to do. Maybe I'll use it. I'll just add a couple half teaspoons. And sometimes I add a little bit of extra capers just because they're really yummy. All right. They actually potty trained my son with capers.
I thought Cheerios were.
Cheerios, no. M&Ms, no. We tried Peeps. Capers, yes.
Nice. He's well on his way to a Mediterranean diet, right?
So capers are actually like a flower bud. And then they're like kind of pickled. If you've never had capers before, they're kind of salty. So that's what kind of adds this salty punch to this recipe. And I'm going to add a little bit of pepper again. If you needed to add a little bit of salt to this, you could, but you don't have to. So I'm actually going to turn off the heat there. That looks beautiful. So, yes. I mean, see how quick that came together? That doesn't take long to make a really yummy, healthy dish. So in our audience, I mean, we all tried the beet greens by now. What did we think? Good? Were you surprised? I mean, most people...
They're like, yay! Come on, this is television. Let's go. And I heard something about a special birthday cake you made for your son once.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe you could tell us about that.
I did, for my son's first birthday, I did make him a red beet cake with chocolate avocado frosting. It was actually really good. I mean, there was sugar in it. I'm not like that bad of a mom. But
that's great.
Yeah, he ate it and, you know, did the cake smash. It's, you know, smeared all over his face. We have adorable pictures. So, yeah, it turned out. Yeah. Second child, though, boxed cake mix. All right. So I just did 3 here. They do take a little while to kind of cook and firm up. I kind of tested one to see if it was ready to flip. And it was still a little wobbly, so we're kind of gonna get started on our next recipe. I'm gonna clean some of this stuff up real quick. Get it out of the way.
It's interesting how the color tells you what phytonutrients are in it.
does.
And that's why eating such a variety of colors,
Exactly.
not just bananas and pears and apples, which are all kind of on the same color line, but blueberries and raspberries and pears and pumpkins, and really get all the different colors, and then you'll know you're getting all the different micronutrients that you need.
And I was actually surprised with red beets, because usually when you think of that purple red, you think like blueberries, that it's called anthocyanin. And that's what I usually think of when I see this color. But the betalain is actually a completely different antioxidant than the ones that are found in blueberries. So actually eating beets offers completely different health benefits, even though it's the same color. So I was actually surprised to learn that when I started doing some research on beets for today. So, you know, just really, I think food's fascinating, but then I'm a dietitian, so. Okay, so now we're gonna get started on our salad. So actually, if you wanna pick up that whole tray,
Okay.
right there.
It's a lot of responsibility here.
I know. And maybe, yeah, go ahead. You can just set it there. That's good.
There you go.
Okay, and then I'm gonna have you grab that piece of foil as well. So obviously I don't have an onion. That's, you know, Chad, talk to Chad. Tell him I want an oven in this room.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he can make that work.
You just toasted in my kitchen.
So you do need to roast. We're going to roast the beets for this salad, but I'm just going to kind of walk you through the process first. Scrub the beets really well. If you want, you can, you know, kind of trim them up a little bit, cut off this long kind of root thing going on there, and you can, I'm not even going to trim the tops off. I'm going to do that after they're cooked, because I feel like it holds the juices in a little bit better. Take a piece of foil, wrap it in the foil. This is kind of a big piece of foil for this beet, but, you know, size appropriate. And then pop it in the oven. I think, what did I say? 390, 400 degrees. 400 degrees. Put it in the oven for 50 minutes to an hour. And the time's going to vary depending on the size of the beet. This one, I would anticipate, may not take a full hour to cook, because it's kind of a tiny beet. So maybe like 45 minutes. Basically, you just want to check to see when a knife can be inserted into the beet kind of smoothly, and, you know, not, it doesn't take too much effort. So. All right, flipping our salmon patties. I was talking and I realized they needed to be flipped. So flip them over. They're lightly brown and kind of starting to become firm. All right, looking good. And I can't really tell you a time. I mean, I don't know, how long have those been cooking? 10 minutes or so. So 10 minutes or so on each side. Okay, so this goes in the oven, but I am lucky to have our lovely kitchen that, you know, cooks my beets for me. So I have a couple already roasted beets in here. So I'm going to open them up real quick.
Do you add any water in the foil?
I don't.
No? Okay.
No. Some recipes call for added oil, and when I tried it at home, I didn't even do that, and they turned out perfect. Okay, so I have the beet there. I'm actually gonna, there's several different ways you could peel them. I'm gonna give you a paper towel. And actually, if you wanna put on gloves, you can. Or if you wanna play a really mean trick on your family members, you know, you can tell them you cut off your finger. And it's really mean. I actually wouldn't recommend that. So I'm going to use a paper towel to peel the beet. Once they're cooked, you can kind of just see, like, rub the peel off with the paper towel. Is it coming off for you?
Mm-hmm. Almost can just peel it.
Yeah, it's just like, it takes very little effort. And then they're nice and smooth. And this is why I always have oddly colored hands. Perfect. So then you just slice them to get them ready for your salad, and they slice super easy. Like it's like cutting through butter. Should I mention butter?
There are worse things. So. And actually, we were just looking through some of the recent changes in food recommendations, and butter is not quite as far to the left as we used to think it was.
Yeah.
A little more towards the middle. Definitely healthier choices, but not the worst things.
Like olive oil, right? That would be
a good choice.
A good choice for a heart-healthy fat. So, and we're going to use more olive oil today. We're going to go ahead and make our dressing. So if you want to grab the small bowl and the whisk.
Okay. And canola oil is another one that
olive
oil kind of has a strong flavor to it. So if you're baking, canola oil is a good choice.
Right. Also, it's less expensive than olive oil. Mm-hmm. Olive oil can get pricey. Canola oil has a lot of similar heart health benefits. So, if you swap out canola oil for olive oil, if you're on a budget, you should still get the same heart health benefits. So now we're going to make our own dressing. We're going to use red wine vinegar and some honey. Uh-oh. I need a little, I said I needed an elf at Christmas time when Santa was here. I never got one. I need an elf to follow behind me and clean up after me. So I'm gonna Dijon mustard. And olive oil. Keep putting my. So I have 3 tablespoons of red wine vinegar, and I like to use 1-to-1 with my oil and acid. Other people like to go heavier on the oil, but I like a little bit more bite, so it's up to you. I made the recipe, so clearly you get what I like. But you can, this is just a basic recipe. You can change it to, your preferences. Don't be afraid to, make some small changes. And I usually use a little bit of pepper in there. I don't add salt, again, because the mustard has salt in it, so we don't really need to add any extra. So that's it for the dressing. And then I'm going to walk behind you and grab our big bowl. So I like to pre-dress my greens for this salad. So I just have some mixed greens. And then if you want to just dump a little bit, drizzle a little bit of dressing. My tongs go. There you go. There. Drizzle a little bit of dressing over there. And, again, add as much or as little as you want. Probably start with less and taste it and see if it tastes okay, and then start with more. Yep, looks great. And then just kind of toss them until they're all evenly coated. Okay. Now I'm going to grab a little plate and show you how to put the salad together. So we're going to make little individual servings here.
Hold that.
Sure.
This was actually where I first kind of fell in love with beets, was a salad with beets on it and had orange and red beets and a little bit of goat cheese and walnuts. So
yeah, exactly. A few walnuts, so another heart-healthy fat. And then a little bit of goat cheese. I love goat cheese. I feel like it just, especially with beets, it just adds like a rich, creamy flavor, I guess, or texture. So that is it. So we've made our salmon patties, our sauteed beet greens, and our roasted beet salad. And my hands officially look awful.
I only have a little bit. All right.
So thank you so much, Dr. Tinkle, for joining me today and making our heart-healthy recipes. And thank you all for coming. Does anybody have any questions? These are quiet. Really, no questions. Okay. So the thing with feta cheese or any soft cheese when you're pregnant is the risk for listeria. Technically it should be okay as long as it's made with pasteurized milk. So as long as you see the word pasteurized milk as the first ingredient, you should be fine eating the cheeses when you're pregnant. Anything else? Okay, everybody in our audience got a beautiful beet in a rose bag to take home. So I hope everybody enjoys their beet. And thank you all for coming. And I hope you can join us next month for Live It Irish.